You know ID in the town all day. ID in the SEA. You know ID in the town all day. ID in the SEA.
Hello and welcome to episode 486 of the fabulous Peltoncast, sponsored by our friends at Pagliacci Pizza. I'm your co-host, Kevin Pelton.
Did you forget your name?
Just a little bit. Didn't know you forgot your name.
Well, are you supposed to say where you're coming from? Did you say that?
No, that's the next line.
And I'm Tristan Carcino.
And we're coming to you in different locations this week.
Oh, there we go, yeah.
I'm in Seattle, Washington, home of the AL West champion, Seattle Mariners.
And I'm coming to you from Renton, Washington, home of number one in everything. Quarterback, Sam Darnold.
Not in DVOA anymore.
Nope, not the team. The quarterback, Sam Darnold, and your Seattle Seahawks.
Do we know that Sam Darnold actually lives in Renton?
No,
I'm not disputing that part of it.
I know we don't know that he lives here, but the Seahawks are hosted here, so like it's an honorary home for him, whether he lives here or not. Also, I wouldn't rule it out.
I wouldn't rule it out either. But I wouldn't confirm it. That's for sure. Certain. I wouldn't even make it the favorite. Well, a rousing start to this one already. It's the Zach Miller episode of the Peltoncast.
There we go.
Should we get into our toasts?
I love the players who have like outsized, like short season. Like Greg Olson to me is like Seahawks legend. Greg Olson.
Well, I mean, because of his he's like honorary third Pelton brother. He's the JJ Redick in many ways of football.
By the way, Austin Reeves.
Oh
my God.
I was like on the fence earlier because originally I had been planning my first Blazers game of the season was going to be Monday, the LA Lakers visiting. And then Luka Doncic was ruled out for at least a week on last Sunday, making it unlikely he's going to play in Portland. LeBron obviously already out. But now I need to go to see the legend that is Austin Reeves.
You gotta see the Reeves show.
I happened to tune back in just for the final minute of Lakers Wolves, and what a great point to catch.
We were watching him hit that floater, and me and Luca were going nuts. And he was like, "Why do you cheer for the Lakers?" And I was like, "You wore a Lakers jersey to school today." Like,
did he?
Yes. I was like, why do you think he's wearing a Blazers jersey tomorrow? Granted, these are all of mine. He's wearing my Martell Webster jersey tomorrow. Gonna have to do a lot of explaining to the kids at Northwood Middle School about that one. But he probably would have to for any Blazers player. So it's fine. But I was like, we were going nuts when Austin Reeves hit that shot. Jan was like, is he new? What's the deal with this person? And I was like, tap in, motherfucker. You don't know about Austin Reeves? Come on.
Where have you been? I wonder what Martell Webster's up to these days. Not playing basketball. That's suffice it to say.
Did you think there was a chance that was?
No, I did not think so. Did you know that he co-founded an independent record label focusing on hip hop?
Did you know that? By that information, I actually might have known that.
Do you know who produced his first EP entitled Emerald District?
Jake One.
Of course.
I brother Jake love One. It. Dude, Jake One must have had the time of his fucking life producing that.
Jake One should just exclusively produce rap, like NBA rappers. That could be a lucrative career, I think. But that's not what we're here to talk about.
Seattle hip hop producer Jake One. Good for. It's just like, I'm sure everybody involved is having a really good time.
I bet so. All right, well, let's start this week with a congratulations to Lynn Biondolo, who announced that she and husband Marley are expecting their first child. Biondolo hadn't played for the Rain since August 24th with what was listed as a knee injury, but that may have been a factor now. Seems likely it's also related to her pregnancy. So very excited for her and her husband to welcome a child. All right, congrats to Cal Raleigh, voted Player of the Year and AL Outstanding Player as part of the Players' Choice Awards, which are definitely a thing I knew existed before today.
Yep. It's an honor that we've been eyeing for the entire season for Cal. We were chanting Players' Choice Player of the Year.
AL Outstanding Player. AL Outstanding Player.
Yeah.
And lastly this week, congrats to Big Ten Co-Offensive Player of the Week, Denzel Boston, who had career highs of 10 catches.
Did you mispronounce Desmond Roebuck?
We'll talk about Desmond Roebuck later. But Denzel Boston, career highs of 10 catches, 153 yards in Saturday's win over number 23 Illinois in addition to throwing a touchdown
There we
pass.
go. That's how you know you're having a complete game. Did you send me notes, by the way?
I did not. I'll do that now. That was a real chef's kiss moment, even though it came before most of his catches, I would say.
Yeah, the Denzel Boston experience, it's almost like Damon in some ways, where I feel like both of them, maybe Rome had some pretty big and notable catches, but I feel like Denzel's one of those players that at the end of the game you look up and you're like, he had what?
Yeah, he definitely didn't feel like he had as explosive a game as it turned out being, but he's very good at the football, as it turns out, Denzel Boston. And he just like the line of the previous Husky player to throw and catch a touchdown pass in the same game was Dante Pettis in a game at Cal in 2016 that I attended that I believe was right around the return of the Peltoncast that game.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. The return of the cast.
I'll have to go into the archive and look that one up. But yeah, I mean the Huskies have had a pretty impressive run of receivers over this span here.
Oh yeah, I mean Denzel's going to be first or second round pick, I think also.
And finally, with Rome Odunze, one of them has translated that into major NFL success, other than Jermaine Kearse, obviously. So, all right, more to come as we talk about UW beating a ranked Illinois team. But we got a little less football to talk this week because the Seahawks are coming off a bye. The Huskies are heading into a bye. No UW preview this week. Obviously, not really much Mariners talk. Is the off season begins / continues.
Are we talking Mariners at all?
I don't have any notes. If you want to bring up the Mariners,
a question for you: does it change any of the way that you feel about the Mariners if the Blue Jays win the World Series?
Yeah, I mean, look, one baseball playoff series is not definitive of anything, but just watching the World Series play out, there's nothing fluky seeming about what the Blue Jays are doing. They just seem pretty clearly like the better team because they were a really good team over the course of the season. And then they added Trey Yesavage and suddenly got a dramatically better, an elite starting pitcher with 3 games, with 3 starts left in the regular season. I think it's time to consider that the Dodgers aren't losing the series. The Blue Jays may just be that good a team.
I mean, that's what it felt like playing them in some of these games. There were again, game 1 and game 2 is the Blue Jays are just bad. That is not a good team. But when the bats got going for the Blue Jays, they're one of those teams where you're just it just never stops. And it kind of reminds me of that Rangers team that won the World Series a couple
Very
years
much
ago,
so.
where you're just good God, can we have some relief? But if Andres Jimenez is going to hit like he has been hitting, especially like he was hitting against the Mariners, you're just we can't do anything, right? If you have a 7, 8, and 9 that are hitting that well, and the same with what is it, Addison Barger, you know what I mean? If they're hitting in that territory like they are, it is really hard to beat a team over a series when they're doing something like that. But I guess, wow. So it was so funny. Yesterday they were talking about, they were just we're just going to walk Shohei, and then Shohei with an 0 for 4 with a strikeout. When I saw that, I pulled up Shohei's stats and I was just has he actually been that good in this playoffs? And he's been pretty good in the playoffs, but it's not like Shohei is impossible to get out.
Yes.
And obviously their strategy of just pitching to him today worked. But I think maybe a different perspective about this, rather than feeling good that the Mariners lost to the Blue Jays, what about the other end of the perspective of we might be winning a World Series had the Mariners win that game? The Dodgers are not unstoppable.
They are not. I mean, the other thing I wanted to point out when you were talking about the Blue Jays and the depth of their lineup is for all the hand wringing about the Mariners 7, 8, 9, Kike Hernandez did have a home run tonight, but he's hitting 211 with a 200 OBP in the series. Andy Pajes is 1 for 15. The 7 spot has not necessarily been the same player every time, but Tommy Edman has a 190 slugging, 143 batting average. Max Muncy's hitting 150. It's not like the bottom of the Dodgers order has been all that productive against the Blue Jays here. Maybe it's not a thing that's unique to the Mariners.
Yeah, no, it was a stupid thing that people were saying. again, there's no team that has 9 amazing players. Like if that is your expectation,
There is, and there's the Toronto Blue
it's the
Jays.
Blue Jays. But that's not even true necessarily. Like if they were playing 100-game series, that wouldn't be true. Everything would settle down. It's not
Jimenez also has
19-20.
Jimenez has a 419 OPS in this series, and Isaiah Falefa is one of 16. So I guess their 789 has not been that good in this series.
I mean, Addison Barger is like a 558 slugging. He's like almost 1,000 OPS in the playoffs. But it's also kind of just like Vlad got hot at the right time.
I mean, did he get hot at the right time, or is he just really good?
It's a combination of both. It's always a combination of both, you know?
Yes.
And so, like, if Cal had gotten hot at that same time, I mean, Julio kind of did in some ways, but like, if Cal had gotten hot at that time, it's an interesting thought experiment that if Dan goes to Andres Munoz in that situation, they get George Springer out and the Mariners figure out a way to hang on. I think we would be in one of those moments. And I don't know if the Blue Jays feel this way. If the Mariners were up 3-2 in the World Series, I think we would be like, this can't be real.
Yes,
we would think
100%.
that the bottom was about to fall out every single second.
It's kind of weird we didn't think that more when the Mariners had a 3-2 lead over the Blue Jays in the ALCS.
But it's different with the Blue Jays. It
I
still
agree.
is different with the Blue Jays, even though, you know, their records are almost identical in the regular season. The Dodgers are still the Dodgers.
Yeah. Okay.
I still think the Dodgers are going to win the last 2.
Certainly not going to roll it out.
I will only believe the Dodgers are going to lose the series once they have lost the series.
Agreed. I was kind of surprised that the winning percentage in World Series history for teams that won Game 5 when it was tied 2-2 was as low as it was, because it's 67% historically. So, I mean, maybe some of that relates to the 2-3-2 format, especially when home field was a bigger factor and travel was a greater issue, like when they were going by trains and such. So
I wanted to see what the World Series odds are.
the Jays were still huge favorites underdogs coming into today. I'm sure they are now favored.
Yeah, they're minus 250 and the Dodgers plus 200.
Okay.
It's almost like, I mean, the Vlad money is basically exactly the same as the Blue Jays money, because it's like, if the Blue Jays win, then Vlad's going to be the MVP. And same with Shohei. It's like Shohei's plus 220, Vlad's minus 200. Anyway, it's a fascinating thing to think about. I don't think it makes things better or worse. It kind of just, it all is. Because you could view it positively or negatively, like you were saying. Like you could view it positively that the Mariners lost to the best team. I don't know if that makes us feel better. You could also view it negatively of, damn, if the Mariners had just gotten 9 more outs, they could be competing for a World Series right now.
Yep. I mean, definitely they would be competing for a World Series. I guess, yeah. I mean, the series could have been over, but yeah. All right. Anyways, as I was saying, without those things this week, it gives us an opportunity to return to our search for Seattle's best cookie with the latest quarterfinal round in our. I told you about this offline. I think that when I was in France, I saw a cookie shop that was referred to as like a cookieterie, like the version of a patisserie, but specific to cookies, and was like so envious that this is a word that we do not have in the English language to describe places, bakeries that exclusively serve cookies. But we're in that part of the bracket right now with the cookie break versus treat. And as a reminder, since it's been a while since we visited these places, the cookie break is in, basically a home cookie business. There's pickup at a home location. You can pick up, order in advance and pick up, and a lovely experience. This is in, I believe, the Madrona neighborhood. I'd have to go double check that. But was able to pick up a dozen to share between you, me, and the famous cousin Katie, who was supposed to be joining us, is the third Pelton brother for this, but could not make it. And I ordered a dozen, and they threw in a 13th cookie just for free.
Hello.
So really enjoyed the whole thing with the cookie break against Treat, which was perhaps the pre-search favorite for me. It was probably my go-to cookie spot in Burien. Uh, someplace that I started going when they were only operating at the Burien Farmers Market on a weekly basis, and just kind of stumbled across it and immediately was hooked and very excited when they opened a brick and mortar location, and have been going to regularly ever since. Uh, what makes Treat interesting among this group is that they have a relatively small group of core cookies and then a rotating menu from month to month. Uh, so let's see, what did we have this time specifically? I know there was a chocolate chip cookie. You went to Treat. What else did you get?
I have no idea. I mean, it was so long ago that we had these cookies
It was a while back.
that I could not tell you what we had. Did I brought you cookies?
Yes, we met. You brought cookies. Luca was with you because he was home from school sick.
God, that was a long time ago. This was before you went to Europe, right?
Oh yeah, long before I went to Europe.
Oh my God. You think I'm going to remember what cookies I had then?
I might have gone to a Seattle Storm practice or something before this.
Uh,
So that tells you how long ago it was. Anyways, it doesn't matter, really. They have a variety of rotating flavors,
I
seasonal
mean, I'm
themes.
sure that a Madison was in there. That's the chocolate chip with sea salt. I feel like we
Yes,
definitely did that. And then I feel like there might have been the funfetti. Did we do that? The Kenzie?
plausible.
Okay. Sounds good. I pretty much the thing about, as you mentioned about Treat, is you don't go there and be like, I'm going to get the same thing every time, because it's so focused on the seasonal cookies that you really have to judge. You have to judge Treat based upon just the totality of the shop rather than like the one signature cookie, which I think is kind of unique to what we've done for a lot of the Search for Seattle's best ofs, right? Because a lot of times we're talking about one item,
Right.
and for this one, it is like it's the whole thing. You know what I mean? It is go in there and pick your poison. Everything is good at Treat.
Yeah, and you can usually vibe it out from looking at the cookies. To me, the signature so treat cookies are giant is number one thing to note. It's like a you could fit probably three of the cookie breaks cookies into at least two into a treat cookie. And to me, the signature treat cookies are the ones that they bake that have the giant mound in the
Yep.
middle where it gets really gooey. And whatever else is going on there, it's going to be good. It's kind of almost, and this was nominated as a song in the music league when we did a song that represents the search for Seattle's best donut, Wet Bread.
Yeah, I'll accept that. Anyway, I remember I was bringing it to you, and I was like, God, I hope we could get that wild card. We're beating Ohio State. I remember I left with, but
I'm sure you thought that, yes.
I mean, I definitely did think that. It's funny. So you mentioned that about the ones where it is the sort of like the big mound in the middle and then the crunchy edges around it. Those are phenomenal. But I think the thing that's good about Treat is it has so much variation, because the stuff that they do with frosting is also, I mean, it's all decadence. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like that is the only, that's not even a negative necessarily, but on the flavor palette, like when we talk about the ones, like there's some cookies that have like curries in them, right? That are almost like more like earthen type flavors. That is not what Treat is about.
No.
Treat is about, it is about the sugary end of the spectrum and pushing that about as far as you can possibly go. But they do it so successfully that I don't even think that's a negative necessarily.
Yeah, I think what I'd say is to me, like consistency is a big factor in when we do these searches because if I recommend something to the listener, I want the listener to go there and have a good experience. Whereas if it's something that's inconsistent and like, well, it might be good or it might be off this week, that's not to me, something that seriously should be a contender for Seattle's best whatever food we're searching for. And what I will say about Treat is that even though I don't, there are some like seasonal flavors that I enjoy more than others. I almost never go there, and I'm like, well, that was disappointing. It is hard to imagine that experience. They're they are almost always there's almost always at least something, and usually multiple somethings that I'm very excited about getting.
Okay, so tell me what we got from Cookie Break, because sometimes I just get delivered a box of cookies and I'm like, I don't know what's in here.
Yeah, we got a wide assortment of the menu. Let me see if I have.
Was there one that was a brookie?
Okay, yes, We had sprinkle, cherry chocolate oat, triple chocolate chip, oatmeal chocolate chip, sprinkle, campfire, which is their version of a s'mores, and
There's a lot of shit in there. Okay.
Yes.
There you said you did say brookie.
Yes.
So,
which is a brownie center inside of a cookie.
Katie is famously scared to compete, except apparently not to indoor soccer.
Oh, really? She's
Katie
playing
says
indoor soccer?
she's thinking about playing indoor soccer.
Okay.
And I told Katie, I
Are
was
you
like,
thinking about coming out of retirement?
me?
Yeah.
No, it's a over 40 women's league.
Oh, okay. I was just recalling you because you played with the famous cousin Katie in intramurals, right?
Yes, not soccer though.
Oh, that wasn't soccer?
Oh no, we did play soccer. I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't think Katie was on that team.
Oh, okay. Unrelated. But you famously had a lot of handballs.
Yeah, I had a lot of handballs. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I was telling her, I was like, indoor soccer is way more physical of a sport. To me,
Oh.
there's so much more running than there is in
It's like-
soccer.
It's
I was
like
trying to
when
describe this to Katie.
It's like when people are like, "Oh, let's play half court basketball instead of full court. There won't be as much running." It's like, no, there's going to be a million more times running because you're not like casually jogging back and up and down the court at all.
That's exactly what I was saying to Katie. I don't know if I compared it to that because I don't know if it's quite. I feel like half court basketball is fine to play. You have to be kind of on all the time, but there's so much sprinting in indoor soccer too.
Yeah.
It's like constant running. And I was like, in soccer, you could just like take a few plays off. You're just there's like some standing around
Yeah.
in soccer where you could catch your breath. Indoor soccer is not like that. So I advised Katie that I was like, I'm not sure if that's the sport you want to make your comeback in. I would maybe do soccer.
Ease into it.
Yeah. But she was skeptical about what I was saying. And I gave it the, okay.
Well, maybe if I say it.
If two people think this, if all Pelton brothers say it.
Just mostly me as opposed to you.
What, I'm not trustworthy?
Yes.
I played on an indoor soccer team. This is from firsthand experience on an indoor soccer team, and I hated it. I hated every second of it. There are also people on my indoor soccer team who like played college soccer, and I was like, what am I doing here?
It's a great question.
So her takeaway, Katie famously scared to compete at sports and at podcasting. And Katie was like, she didn't even remember the cookies that we had. And Katie doesn't remember anything ever. But like, Katie didn't remember the cookies that we had. And I was like, do you remember which one was better? I was hassling her at school. And she was like, there was one that I thought was going to be a chocolate chip. And then it turned out to not be a chocolate chip. And Katie was very bothered by this.
Oh, wow.
And looking at the website, I think it has to be the brookie from what I'm saying.
Okay.
So I think to me, if we can get into the voting of it, I mean, it's clear from how I'm talking about treat. I thought Cookie Break was very good, and Cookie Break is like very worthy of being in the bracket.
Yep.
But Treat was like a revelation when it opened. Like I remember when you were going to the farmer's market in Burien, I think pandemic times, right?
Oh, yeah.
And you were talking about the cookies, and I was like, I have to make the pilgrimage to Burien, Washington to go get these cookies. And I don't know if Cookie Break struck me as like a will travel for. I mean, Treat we're talking about, there's a good chance it's going to end up in the finals here. So like, I think whatever our final four ends up being, it's going to be an extraordinarily strong final four for cookies, but Treat has every right to be there.
That's interesting. I thought you were a little lower on Treat, and obviously we'll get the real test when it comes up against Hello Robin in the semifinals.
Are they playing Hello Robin?
Playing, it's a funny way to describe it, but yes.
It's going to be a really, really hard battle. They're just such different cookies. And I think that's why it's difficult, because to me, like, the value in Hello Robin is if I get 12 Hello Robin cookies, I can eat 12 Hello Robin cookies. But with Treat, I can have one Treat cookie, and then by the time you start at number 2, you're like, I cannot conquer any more cookie at this point.
You might accidentally not be able to eat a meal for the rest of the day if you eat 2 Treat cookies, as I discovered many a time along the way. Yeah, that would be an interesting matchup. You said pandemic, like literally the day they opened the store was the day of my second COVID shot.
Oh, okay.
So I celebrated because I was doing it at Highline Hospital, not far, or the St. Anne Medical Complex, I suppose now. not far from treat cookies. So I celebrated the second COVID shot with a treat cookie.
There we go.
Multiple treat cookies. Yeah, I mean, treat again to me. I'm very curious to see what's going to happen between Treat and Hello Robin in the semifinals. But I think that was sort of the predestined matchup in this cookies only side of the bracket, and it has in fact come to pass by unanimous Pelton brother vote. So we have one spot left. You mentioned the semifinals shaping up as a strong final four. Ben's Bread pulling the upset over St. Bread in the bakery region or side of the bracket. We have one spot in the semifinals against Ben's Bread left to be decided between Chikorina and Volunteer Park will be our last quarterfinal matchup. So we'll play in looking like we'll be able to do that next week on the pod.
I saw, is it called Magazine de Cookies?
No.
What was it called?
I mean, it was like, again, like cooketerie or something like that.
I think that they just made up that word.
You think so?
I mean, I'm trying to see if I can find like.
Let me see if I can find on the map where this place was that we went to. I have to look for the McDonald's around Versailles.
Did you go to a McDonald's in Versailles?
I didn't go to McDonald's, but it was in the same shopping complex as the McDonald's, this cookie location here.
You know, you're at a bang up place when there's a McDonald's nearby in Versailles.
Let me tell you, there were so many people at the McDonald's.
I mean, you know, like it's not like for some people live there, so like
right. But you know, there was also.
You imagine when you go to a place that every single person is a tourist of that place, or you romanticize their current life there and act like they never eat at McDonald's. Every day is riding around on bicycles with Nico and going getting a baguette. You know what I mean? Like it's not exactly.
Oh, there were so many fucking Five Guys in Paris.
What?
We did like the hop on, hop off tour of the city, and just everywhere you went, Five Guys.
Really?
So many Five Guys.
Five Guys is American, right?
Yes.
And we don't even like it here.
not that high on it. No. The funny thing about this is that now it's a challenge because it turns out there are two McDonald's right near Versailles. Only one of them is by the train track, so I think I can piece this together here. But that is
Five Guys sucks, by the way. Have we talked about specialties?
What do you like, specialty cookies?
Yeah.
I don't know if we have as part of this search now.
Specialties are gone, correct?
I believe they have all closed. Certainly the ones around here.
When do we have the specialties conversation?
I mean, I suppose we could do it now.
Should we wait for Katie?
Okay.
Was it Katie who really discovered specialties?
I thought I started going to it when I was working downtown.
I feel like Katie was before you in her estranged work as an attorney.
That is true. She was there. Yeah. It turns out there are only two locations left. They are both. It reopened. It's according to this in 2022.
Okay.
Reestablished. Established 1987. Reestablished 2022. But there are only two locations, both of which appear to be in the Bay Area.
Oh yeah, that's so funny. Established 1987, reestablished 2022. That's hilarious that they put that on there.
Yeah, so we've got one in Mountain View in Silicon Valley and one
in Brisbane,
in South San Francisco, basically near the airport.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see if we can get Katie on to talk about.
I'm gonna have to link this in the post notes. The cooketerie. But that's what I'm referring to. Cookie
It's like
bakeries.
Wait, spell that for me. COOKITERIE.
So there you go.
Yeah, no, it's not. This is not. First off, it says permanently closed on
What do you
Google.
mean?
It literally says La Coquetterie. It says permanently
No,
closed.
I mean, that's not the name of the place. It describes itself as a cook. It is La Pépite by Lou. It's the name of the actual American style cookies.
American style cookies?
Yeah.
We have a style of cookies?
Apparently we do.
I've always wanted a thing.
I
We
thought
have all
had the
those
fresh
McDonald's.
operation.
Oh yeah, well, I think that might have to reestablish itself in 2022 also,
What do you mean?
because it's going to go out of business.
The whole valley
Whole
is going
region,
out.
whole region's gone. The cookies in the La Coquetry Instagram do not look very good. Learn how to make cookies, Frenchie.
But again, that's not the place I visited.
Doesn't matter.
I sadly did not have any of their cookies, but they looked quite good. I was hoping to do it on our way back, but didn't have the time.
You know, no one knows how to do American style cookies like America.
It's really true.
Again, I didn't know that was. I thought cookies existed throughout the whole world, but
it may in fact be a made up word, sadly.
no, it's a made up word. Yeah,
But that doesn't mean we can't use it. Words.
We
the
could
whole
use
word
it
start is made up
here.
words.
like literally any of these places, it could be treat coquetry if they wanted to.
I don't know if that's the vibe they're going for.
If you wanted to compete hard enough, you could.
Well, you know what else we do best here in America?
Is it the rundown?
I was gonna say hockey, but
Oh,
ironically.
do we? You're saying North America? Or are you talking?
No,
about
no, I'm
Stanley
saying
Cups?
that the U.S. always wins the Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, let's get into that. Starting with the Kraken, who beat the team from down south, Edmonton, 3-2
I
in
was
the
really
opening game of their
fascinated to
home
find out who it was.
Then salvaged a point Tuesday after trailing 3-0 in third period to truly south Montreal with 3 goals in the final 11 minutes and 3 seconds. Did lose that one in overtime, but managed a point. Now they have a rare 3-day break at home before hosting the New York Rangers Saturday in the Chicago Blackhawks on Monday. Kraken tied for second in the Pacific Division right now and 5th in the West overall. Advanced stats still say this team is very bad. 29th in Corsi floor percentage, 30th in Fenwick floor percentage. So it feels like they're just riding a hot streak right now, but who knows? They
Should I
rode a
tap
hot
in?
streak all the way to the 2022-23 playoffs, so it can be done.
Yeah, I feel like this might be the time to bandwagon on the Kraken.
Sure. Yeah, go for it. Although we got some
Have fun.
knock yourself out.
The other option is standard definition Blazers. So
No, the other option soon will be UW basketball because we'll talk
Hello.
about that later in the podcast. But the current option is the MLS Cup playoffs, where the Seattle Sounders started with a game 1 0-0 loss on penalties Monday at Minnesota United. They were scoreless despite some good opportunities either way. Expected goals dramatically favored the Sounders, 2.4 to 1.1 for Minnesota. And after playing 90 minutes for the shootout, it was pretty brutal for the Sounders. Both Roldan brothers failed to score, with a weak Alex effort getting saved, and then
Wow.
Christian hitting it off the crossbar.
the Pelton brothers would never. We
did
would never
have
even be there.
That's exactly true. But we have spent a lot of time practicing penalties.
That is
I
true.
may not be good at any other soccer things, but I've spent a lot of time working on my penalties. Minnesota missed a penalty that would have won it in the 4th round, but then Danny Leyva subbed on in stoppage time strictly to take a penalty.
Oh, real, you had one
Missed the
job
final
type
shot.
situation.
But I also feel like that's such a hard thing to get subbed on just to take a penalty.
Yeah, who could kick a ball? Come
But you're
on.
not like warm at all.
It's I'm gonna give that a maybe. I feel like if you ask most soccer players cold to take a penalty kick, they can take a penalty kick.
I mean, they can take it, but are you going to be as likely to connect
Did
on
he
it?
did he just did it get saved, or did he just miss?
He just missed.
Wow.
I mean, I don't know. I thought it was interesting. Jordan Morris did not take a penalty in this one. I don't know where he was in the order. I guess he wasn't healthy for any of the Leagues Cup penalty shootouts that they had, where they were extremely good on penalties. They were last year in the MLS Cup playoffs. Obviously, the thing about penalties is they're very
It's
random.
randomness. This is randomness. Who cares?
But I don't know if they was necessarily the right players sent up there. Is what
Sure.
I'm saying.
Fine. If you don't have a brilliant Italian goalkeeper, it's not going to matter.
There was also some question of whether they should have subbed on Andrew Thomas for penalties, given his success in Leagues Cup, but they stuck with Stefan Fry, a decision that Brian Schmetzer did not at all second guess afterwards. So now that sets up Monday.
Can you imagine second guessing that about your goalie? Like, that would, even if in your head you second guessed it, you're not going to say those words out loud.
Fair point. Although maybe Andrew Thomas should just be starting. I mean,
That's what I was gonna say is
Stephen Fry did have a clean sheet in this one. Like he did nothing wrong, certainly. So it sets up a must-win in the game 2 Monday, hosting Minnesota United in this one. Uh, Sounders, aside from Pedro de la Vega, should be pretty healthy. You know, all hands on deck for this one. You definitely got to try to score. This was an interesting point that Sounder at Heart made. There's not been a lot of games where the Sounders have had an XG advantage like this and failed to win the game this season. But one of the ones that was very similar was the last time they had played in Minnesota against this United team, these Loons that do not like to have possession. They let the other team attack and then try to score on the counter and from set pieces. Sounders did a really nice job handling their set pieces in this one, to their credit, but have not been able to break through and score against this Minnesota team. And I don't think you're going to want it to come down to penalties again in a must-win game too. So that struck up another thought, but then it immediately went away. So we'll see.
You're just gonna want to jump in Peltoncast tradition when you get to like third or fourth, like run down team. Just mention it casually. Just interrupt if I'm talking. The problem is I won't be talking, so
we'll see if the Sounders season is still going by the time we record next week. The Seattle Reigns season will still be going because I erroneously last week said that Decision Day was coming up on Sunday. It's actually, that was an international break. It's this Sunday is Decision Day, where the Sounders can finish anywhere from 3rd through 7th in the NWSL table, depending on their results at the Orlando Pride, who are currently in 3rd. That game kicks off, is all of the games will at the same time at 2 p.m. Pacific on Sunday. All right, Seattle Storm news. The Storm have a head coach. My ESPN colleague Shams Charani was the first to report this on Friday. The Storm were going to hire New York Liberty assistant Sonia Rahman, as you sort of have heard here from the very start on this podcast. We thought Sandy Brondello had a strong chance at the job once the New York Liberty let her go. But after she decided on the Toronto Tempo job last week, the Storm picked Sonia Rahman. She was officially announced Wednesday morning, and I was able to speak with her for a news story on ESPN.com talking about, this is kind of interesting, the role that the Storm played in her move. So for a long period of time, she coached at the college level, at the lower level college, was the head coach at MIT for 12 years, led that program. Yeah, led that program to unprecedented success, 2 Coach of the Years, 2 conference championships, the first 2 NCAA tournament appearances in Division III NCAA tournament in MIT women's basketball history, based on a connection with third Pelton brother. Don't remember that this happened, Rich Cho.
Okay.
She ends up as an assistant coach for the Memphis Grizzlies in 2020, spent 4 years on the bench for the Grizzlies, was along with a number of their assistant coaches in a shakeup of their coaching staff that presses Taylor Jenkins getting fired last year. And around the time that was happening, before that, she had joined up with New York Liberty as an assistant, was out of the, was not working during the 2024 WNBA season, and spent that training camp here in Seattle, attending Storm practices and getting to know the league, because of the fact that her wife, Melina Flores, who was a star at Stanford, played briefly in the WNBA, is a native of Snohomish. So some ties to the area. She referred to it as, quote, kind of a homecoming for us, is part of explaining why this was such a good job opportunity for her. But, was really impressed by the Storm's facilities when she was here for training camp. That was the first year that they were in the BCU Storm Center for practice for performance. Obviously talked about the strength of the fan base, the winning, nature of the organization. I thought the most interesting thing she said in our interview was when I asked about Dominique Malunga, and she talked about her development, said it was hard to play against her, coach against her last year with the Liberty. Dom had one of kind of her first breakout moments, was a big fourth quarter against the Liberty in New York that helped the Storm to a comeback win in early July, after she hadn't been playing very much early in the season, but said that she considers Dom or wants to develop her in a positionless manner because of a unique skill set that's, not really like anything we've seen in the women's game. So
Interesting. Okay.
building some hype there. Said philosophically that she wants, everything to start at the defensive end, up-tempo offense, really highlighted spacing. She mentioned that spacing was a key focus of, she started out with the Memphis Grizzlies coaching defense, then moved to the offensive end, and said that a big part of that was just emphasizing spacing on a team that at that point, was not known for its outside shooting, had to create space for John Morant and Jaren Jackson Jr., et cetera, to operate. That I think is something that is going to translate very nicely to the Storm, provided it's a relatively similar roster, given that spacing has been a big challenge. Her focus with the Liberty was really on special situations and offensive execution. Those are two things that are going to be were very important for the Storm last year, where they weren't very good in clutch games. And, two things I think they're looking to upgrade. So, when you look at kind of what I think about were the things that I wanted to prioritize in the next Storm coach, having some head coaching experience is nice. The diverse background, the experience in the NBA is, I think, a huge part of this. It's, increasingly important as the WNBA evolves, and a lot of the coaches have NBA experience. And then again, that track record of offensive execution and late spacing and late game execution, like those are the things that are kind of music to my ears, I would say, with this hire.
Nice. So you seem pretty excited about this overall.
Yeah. I mean, I called it.
You caught? Oh yeah, that is your favorite thing, actually.
It is.
I forgot. But even beyond that, you think on the court? I
called it for a reason, because I knew these things about Sonia Rahman's background and figured that they were also a good fit for the Storm.
It was a good fit for the Storm, but also it was a good decision for the Storm, more than you were just predicting what they could do. You were predicting also what they should do in the situation.
Well, I don't generally predict that organizations are going to act incompetently. Yeah.
No, but what I'm saying is sometimes you're like, I think they are going to hire this person.
Correct.
Not, I think that they should hire this person. There is a difference between those two things.
And look, I don't know, coach, all the assistant coaches in the league that closely. It's maybe Christy Tolliver, maybe Breon January. I do think, like, if it had been Breon January, who's someone else who was linked by the Athletics' Ben Pickmans to the job, I'm sure they interviewed substantially more than just Sandy Brondello and Breon January, and I don't think he specifically reported they interviewed, but connected them to them, and Sonia Rahman. But if they had hired another defensive-minded former Storm guard, it would have felt a little bit too close.
Yeah, no, I like that it feels quite different than Noelle Quinn as far as the hiring goes, and that it's not somebody, like recent playing career. I understand that there's been success with coaches like that, but I think it's interesting to have a different background and to have basically, like, she has a coaching background for a number of years. Breon January was playing basketball a few years ago.
Well, 3 years ago, she was playing for the Seattle Storm.
The way that you think about the game is just a little bit different, and the way that you can coach it is a little bit different. They've gotten that with Noelle Quinn, and it didn't fully work with Noelle Quinn. I also think the relationships with the team are going to be radically different than they would have been with Breon January, because again, there's still players that she knows from that timeline who are in
played with. Not just in the league. The bulk of this, not the bulk of the Storm roster. There are still players left.
Some of the Storm roster, yes.
She played with her final year.
The way that you have those relationships is going to be different when you're coming in. And I think for Noelle Quinn, that might have been a little bit of an issue that she had. And there's some interpersonal stuff that happened within the Storm over the last couple of years that maybe having a little bit of distance from the playing career to the coaching career would be helpful. So I think having basically like a totally different background than they're used to or than they've had for the last coach makes a lot of sense with Sonia Rahman.
Yep.
So it is also kind of a blank slate when you look at it. I don't know how much the MIT coaching, it's different than the women's engineers, like the sport in general.
But I do like that she has been a head coach, because I think that is one thing that distinguishes her from some of these other coaches. Like, I would say that odds are we don't know who the New York Liberty are going to hire as the last team, that's going to hire a head coach. But I think there's a decent chance that whoever they hire does not have any head coaching experience. And, I think that's valuable to bring to the table.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think it makes a lot of sense. And she's done it for a long time. You have to know how to be in charge. You have to know how to be in charge, and you also have to know how to be part of a team of coaches. And that's kind of like when you look at the experience, the Grizzlies time period. I was just 1 year at the Liberty, so I wouldn't necessarily take too much away from that. But like when you're with the Grizzlies, you're understanding what your role is. But then also she had that decade plus of kind of being the person, the being in charge of everything at the program, having everything run through her. And at a college program, you're more in charge than you are with an NBA team or with a WNBA team even. So like it is a level of responsibility and leadership that is necessary to have that college can kind of give you there.
You know, I did forget one key question. I did not ask whether she has a pyramid. I don't know if we're still in on pyramids these days.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say, first off, if she had a pyramid, you would know that she had a pyramid.
Oh, fair point.
Nobody is secretive about their pyramids of success.
Well, Chris Peterson had a pyramid, right? I'm
Be
pretty
careful
sure
with
there
what
was
you're
a
saying right now. But like
What do you mean?
no, not about that. But the I don't think you
if you coach with the Grizzlies, your pyramid is the Memphis pyramid.
There we go. It's a Bass Pro Shops.
It's true.
But I don't think you make a pyramid of success without telling every single person that you've made a pyramid.
But I don't
of
think
success.
Chris Peterson did tell everyone about it. I think he
behind the scenes, Chris Pyramid, that's his name now. Chris Peterson was probably like, but you know, I've got a pyramid of success.
I don't know if he did. I think it was more subtle.
Okay, moratorium on talking about Jed Fish and his future, but let's say that Chris Peterson wanted to come back. Let's say something happens with Jed.
Obviously,
we want Chris Peterson is the number one choice, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not even a question.
To me, I'm like, all of these other coaches, like, look, they've had success. Chris Peterson is way better than all of these jokers. You know what I mean?
I guess we did. It was out there. We should know about it at the time he was hired because it's in the emergency pod where we talked about him.
Yeah,
taking the job. Okay.
He made people aware, but Chris Peterson is like, to me, I mean, he's obviously one of the best college football coaches of all time. And I do think what he does can translate. When people are like, how will they ever figure it out in the NIL era? It's like paying players money. It's not that complicated. Like, it's almost less complicated than it was before. Because now you just have to pay the players. And it's in front of you. Like, all of the other things that people think matter a lot less in the NIL era. Like the TikTok and stuff like that. It's just like dollar signs are what matters. And the thing that Chris Peterson was able to do was find players and coach players. And I can tell you that having money to be able to go find players and coach players is still going to be an effective way of doing things. That was one where I was like, yeah, I'm down.
But also to go back to the Storm's coaching search, I have been mispronouncing her last name. It is Sonia Ramen, like the food that we once searched.
I pronounced it Ramen, but it's ramen.
Ramen. Yeah.
Okay.
I was previously. I had missed that. All right. I mentioned this earlier. Basketball season is here. Time to preview it. A lot of excitement on both sides. UW women coming off their first NCAA tournament appearance since Kelsey Plum's senior year in 2017. They returned 5 of the 6 players who saw more than 3 minutes of action in their first 4 game against Columbia, losing only senior center Delia Daniels. And to that core,
that feels like such a long time ago that game happened.
I agree.
Saying that brings me back to just how chagrined I was with that fucking team losing that game.
It was a disappointing performance. To that team, they add USC transfer Avery Howell, who was a big-time recruit and played a fair bit for USC as a freshman. Started in the NCAA tournament after Juju Watkins had her ACL tear. I got to see her, kind of breakout game in the Sweet 16 in Spokane before she transferred to UW. And then 5-star freshman Bryn McGahee, who coincidentally is a native of Spokane. Avery Howell's from Idaho. So this is a team that should go, 7 deep with really quality Big Ten players and, hopefully develop some additional depth beyond this. And, This looks like the best team of the Tina Langley era. Again, the best team since the Kelsey Plum era. The Huskies opened number 22 in the BartTorvik.com preseason projections. That's right.
Oh yeah.
BartTorvik.com is back. Although just eighth in a deep Big Ten, they are the top team receiving votes in the AP poll, and they are the number 7 seed in my ESPN colleague Charlie Cream's preseason bracketology. So this is a team where the bold prediction is like them getting to the Sweet 16. That's what it would take for a bold prediction for
Okay.
this year's Husky team? Like getting to the NCAA tournament, presumably outside the first 4, feels like something that should be an expectation for this team.
Missing the NCAA tournament is a disappointment for this team.
Yep, exactly. They'll host Seattle U in their season opener on Monday. The Redhawks have been having a tough go of it. They went 4-26 last season under one-time Storm equipment manager Skylar Young with no win against a top 300 opponent. They lost 95-53 to the Huskies in the 2024-25 season opener at Hecate. All right, UW men's basketball. We talked about their exhibition game, their blowout win over UNLV. They are number 45 in the Ken Pom preseason poll, their highest ranking since January 2020. That's still only 12th in the Big Ten.
2020.
Did I say that?
Yeah.
Okay. They are 35th if you look at the also receiving votes in the AP poll. And Jonah Lunardi's bracketology has them last 4 in going into the season.
That's a level of respect that I when I saw the Big Ten preseason rankings, I was like, are you kidding? I was like, I feel like I'm expecting way more from this team. But that's basically like the Big Ten is just so deep.
I mean, it's different than it is in football because of the fact that, like, the ACC is still a major power. The Big 12 has a number of terrific basketball programs. It's not as centralized Big Ten SEC as it is in college football.
Isn't it more centralized Big Ten though?
But there's going to be a lot of Big Ten teams in the NCAA tournament.
I mean, if they're 12th in the Big Ten and you said they're 35th in receiving votes, like that is very, very deep because again, ACC and Big 12 are good at basketball.
I mean, those are slightly different rankings because the 12th was from Ken Pom where they're 45th overall, but yeah, there's a lot of good teams.
But wasn't the preseason coaches poll, where did they finish?
In the Big Ten preseason poll?
Yeah.
I did not put
it was definitely double digits, I think, for what it's worth.
Like outside the top 10?
Yeah. Or top 10 or lower.
Media poll has them 11.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So. Okay. But I think that's okay. Like the thing that we see this with the SEC in football this year, a thing that is valuable to happen, and obviously the stats are not going to lie about it. Our good friends at Bart Torvik and Ken Pom, like they're going to distill it down more than just like perception, but polls do matter in that. And being preseason perceived as a very good conference means that UW can lose some conference games and still be in position to make the NCAA tournament. I remember seeing this back in the day where you would see like 17 and 11 team be in that like 11 like play-in matchup or something. We were like, man, that team didn't win very many games at all, but they were just such a good team and played such a hard schedule that they're able to get to the NCAA tournament and even do some damage in the NCAA tournament without necessarily being in that like top 5 of the Big Ten.
Yeah, I mean, last year there was nobody with a worse than 12-8 record in conference play that ended up making the NCAA tournament last year.
Still, 12-8 is not like
incredible.
It's not an incredible record. No, absolutely not. Like,
and the teams that went 12-8 were 5 and 6 seeds respectively. There just wasn't that second tier for whatever reason last year in the Big Ten.
There were teams that went 12-8 in conference and were 5 and 6 seeds.
That's correct.
Wow. Okay.
So, yeah.
But even being in the last 4 in bracketology right now, preseason means that people are paying attention. And I was a little nervous a month ago seeing that poll. I was like, I feel like nobody's seeing, like people aren't understanding Hans Steinbeck, what's coming, JJ Mandaquit.
Wesley Yates III also in the top 100 on ESPN for the 2026 NBA draft. So there's going to be
Is that just
renewed
Wesley
draft.
Yates?
No,
Is
no,
he the only one on the
obviously
top?
Hannes Steinbach is in
Okay,
the
yeah.
top 30. Yeah,
Oh yes.
yeah. Huskies open next Monday against Arkansas Pine Bluff, the second lowest rated team on Ken Palm entering the season. Arkansas Pine Bluff went 6-25 last season, losing their 5 games against top 100 opponents by an average of nearly 50 points per game. So if there's not easy wins for both UW men and women on Monday, some reason for concern. But, well, UW football.
Let me ask you a question about UW basketball before we get there.
Okay.
Christian Velp, Detlef Schrempf, Hannes Steinbach. Is there a chance that if this works this year,
That they could become a German.
I mean, there have to be others, right?
That future player prospect from Germany?
Yeah, that Danny Sprinkle can basically go out there and recruit on the name of these players. Because it's been a long time since Christian Velp and Detlef Schrempf.
Well,
but
first off, put some respect on the name of Patrick Femmerling,
There we
German
go.
national team legend, and member of the Twin Towers alongside Todd McCullough in the late 90s. Yeah, I mean, I we talked about this, I think, last week on the pod with their addition of Nikola Zapina as a Serbian prospect. That like there is this greater interest among young European prospects in coming to the NCAA because of the NIL opportunities and the fact that they're making more than they do playing for these pro teams in Europe, where they're the only point of it for them is to develop these players to like get the buyout clause when they go to the NBA. They know that they're not going to play for them. So, it's not the same incentive that these NCAA teams have to pay them to come in and win games. So, yeah, I think that's definitely like a potentially fruitful path.
Do you know where Danny, do we know anything about the recruitment of Hannes Steinbach?
How it happened, I don't know a lot about it.
Okay. Was it just money? Did they pay him more than
I think
any
they
other
had
team?
to be on him relatively early.
Okay.
I would say.
I mean, I am.
Maybe
This is obviously.
This is the story I should pitch.
I mean, maybe you should play a game first. But
he did play a game against UNLV. It went great.
There we go.
This is a weird change because before you either played non-Division I schools in public exhibitions or had to have these secret scrimmages against other D1 teams. And now it's like there's so much hype about the debuts of all these top freshmen. I don't know if you've seen this. Like AJ DeBansa, Cam Boozer,
I saw it.
Darren Peterson. All these guys are putting up monster numbers against like real opponents in their preseason exhibitions. So very hyped for the start of the NBA draft process.
Do we think it's just like a great collection of players this year?
It sure seems like it.
Okay. Is there any reason for that, or just happens every once in a while?
Happens. I mean, may have happened this year in the NBA draft too. I don't know if you've seen VJ Edgecombe play. So, all right, UW football.
Yeah, pitch that story. That'd be fun to hear Danny Sprinkle talk about the recruitment of Hannes Steinbach. And like I'm fascinated genuinely on he's done good internationally, but like, is this an intentional thing? And I think the other piece of it is like there's another team on the eastern half of the state. I'm willing to say what they're called. I don't care enough about them to not, but like, can he go and take that mantle from Gonzaga where it's like the money is not the same anymore? Like UW being in the Big Ten.
I think Gonzaga has plenty of money. I'm
sure that Gonzaga has plenty of money. UW being in the Big Ten is different.
I suppose.
And also like Gonzaga's moving to a real conference in the next couple of years. There's an opening right now for the right coach to be able, and Danny Sprinkle may be the right coach, to go and be like, can we be the program that goes and gets these international players? And let me just say, if you're a person, you're in Germany or if you're in anywhere throughout the world and you're like, come to the United States, the current situation being in Seattle, Washington might look a little bit more appealing to you than being in some other parts of the country that might be recruiting you to play college basketball.
I suppose that's probably true, yes. All right. Can we talk about UW football now?
Absolutely, we can.
Because they comfortably beat number 23 Illinois, a game that looked for a while like it was just going to be a matter of like one stop whether teams settled for field goals or, scored touchdowns. But then in this, after going behind for the first time, just before halftime, Huskies rally with a touchdown, stop Illinois, who had the ball first in the second half, get a couple of stops, put together a lead, and pretty comfortably armed length Illinois in this one. What did you think?
I had a great time. Loved every second of it, even the times when I was angry. Loved all of it. And I really have to say, like, it was one of those games that we were having a bit of a hard time finding, like, not the energy for, because there's just, there weren't like a lot of Illinois fans in the building or anything. There were
A
enough,
decent number,
but it
more than
wasn't
I
like,
expected.
like when you get to some of those games where you're like, oh my, like we are fighting for our lives here. You know what I mean? Like we have to be louder than them. It wasn't Ohio State or something like that. Illinois
It
comes
wasn't.
in, they're ranked, but they're not. We don't have history with Illinois in that same sort of way. And I have to say, the referees really got the crowd into this game.
That's true.
It was you're like maybe so, right? I know you love to talk about the monk and the maybe so. Like the penalties that were called on UW, right? The pass interference, the flagrant pass interference call. That was just, it was to me the worst pass interference call I've ever seen in my entire life. I actually I should have gone back to rewatch it at this point, because I haven't rewatched it outside of the replay. But in real time, I had no idea what they could be calling on the field, and that's how you know it's a bad penalty. When you're not like, oh, the first one where that was also, was that on Takario or Ephesians in the end zone?
That was on Takario, who had come up with the interception on the play.
No, not that one. I'm talking about the first pass interference call in the end zone. I think that was on Ephesians, where I like it was right in front of us, and I was looking down, and you could see his left arm was around the receiver, and I actually think the camera didn't get it. Like the angle didn't show, and I was like, that's a pass interference. I saw it live, and everybody was mad about it, and I was like, that was the right call in that moment. But this one, I literally had no idea what they were calling. Like I saw the flag go down, I'm like, they could not be, or they're celebrating the interception. I was like, pass interference didn't cross my mind as in like a possibility of a call on that play. And that crowd was the most riled up a UW crowd has been in a long time. And it felt great. It felt really good. It filled in, even through the weather and the wind. I was like, we had a pretty good freaking crowd at this game. And it was loud for UW.
And the weather held off about as well as it possibly could. There was like 5 minutes of pouring rain at the start of the third quarter, but that was about it. Yeah, the first one was also on Takario Davis. That was only a 4-yard penalty. They were already first and goal at the 6. That moved them then to first and goal at the 2. So it did not have the impact of that second pass interference. In addition to taking away an interception in the end zone by Takario Davis, also came in a situation where they were second and 21 after I forget what the situation was there. Was that a holding that had moved them back?
Yes.
Okay.
You're talking about when they went up on the why is it showing like this in the box score?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with the box score. But yes, they have it listed for some reason as a separate drive. But yes, that's when they took the 17-14 lead. Okay.
But so basically this game, they're going back and forth. And, when we talked about it beforehand, it was like the Huskies just have to be relentless on scoring touchdowns. And for the most part, they were. I thought there were basically 2 key series in this game. And UW was a better team than Illinois in this game.
Like, ultimately, they had Luke Hillmeyer in hell, I would say. Even though his QBR ended up at 83.5.
I still don't get, like, I'm looking at that, and I'm just like, I don't know how that happened.
He averaged 5.9 yards per attempt, was picked off 4 times, 2 of them called back due to penalties.
Well, again, QBR doesn't necessarily know about those, but
of course. But he did get intercepted twice after coming into the game with 1 interception all season.
There were a couple of key moments in this game, though, and it's so funny that, like, in these key moments, I'm saying that they went toward UW, which probably the 2 biggest plays of the game that we remember are both of the penalties that overturned turnovers that the Huskies had. But they hold Illinois to a field goal in the first series. Boom, it's 14-3. And you're like, this game is over, right? Like, not over, but like Illinois is going to have a very hard time stopping the Huskies. And then they have the Decker DeGraff drops the ball on a third down, like a third and short. I honestly, at that point, I'm like, they should just go for it, 4th and 3 from the 32. And you know what? We probably would have gotten it, but they punt, they play it relatively conservative. That series talks about, or that we just talked about, happens. UW goes down, but the follow up 1 minute and 15 seconds to go 75 yards for the touchdown. And that was a like, you're not dealing with the same shit here, Illinois. Like, this is what we can do, and getting down the field that quickly. And I think that was heading into the half, and then also stopping Illinois, those like couple of plays that they ran. Even with 32 seconds, some teams could have gotten down the field very quickly. But so that series at the end of the half, and then coming out of the half, that middle third, right? The punt that Illinois had to begin the second half, where there was which, I mean, Denzel dropped, he muffed the punt for a second. This was when it was raining. It was kind of gross out, and they just go incompletion, incompletion, incompletion. That stop, after that, Huskies get the ball back, and I'm like, it's game over at that point. And they did. The Huskies followed through. The weather didn't affect them as much. They were able to lean a little bit more on Jonah, and then Jonah has that long run, and it was kind of like Illinois was just chasing it after that.
Well, and two big breaks go the Huskies' way there. Dylan Robinson jumps on the Denzel Boston muffed fumble.
Yep.
And then they also recovered the miscue on there was like, was it when they were running an end around with Denzel Boston?
Yeah, like they just fumble the ball, and I think Damon gets back to the line of scrimmage on it also. Like,
correct.
They don't even take a big loss. And then the other play was before the interception happens. It's 2nd and 10. Luke Altmaier scrambles for, I thought it was 6 yards. I guess it was only 4 yards. And the Illinois, just a stupid penalty. When it's like the kind of penalty that the Huskies get, where a lineman just pushes over. I can't remember who they pushed over, but just like pushes over one of the Huskies 15 yards. And instead of being 3rd and 6, it's now 3rd and 21. And then boom, Luke Altmaier throws the pick. Takario returns it a long way. Like, those little moments, if any of those go against the Huskies, it's probably a different game. But then on the flip side, if either of those turnovers get overturned, then it's a different game also. So the Huskies had a lot of avenues for winning this one, and it was because of what we talked about in the preview. Just the offense has to be relentless. And they weren't against Michigan, and they weren't against Ohio State. And those are the 2 games that they lost. But like, they've been in complicated situations a lot. And when you could just be like, we're going to score a touchdown basically every single time we touch the ball, including, I mean, like, look at this shit, right?
Yeah.
It is wild how quickly they did it, and the game that Damon had in this one. But it's like,
they did what they wanted.
Touchdown, drop by Decker DeGraff on literally a first down. That is the only punt of the game. Touchdown, end of game. That is a perfect offensive game.
Well, it's not a perfect offensive game, but it's awfully close. One of the things that happened here, in addition to, that we haven't touched on, is the return of Carter Willis and John Mills as starters on the left side of the offensive line. And even though they rotated a little bit in this one with their backups, Sony Solo and Pagi Finau, like, still they made a dramatic difference in this one.
Huge.
Damon Williams was not
phenomenal.
sacked.
Yep.
There were no sacks either way, I believe, in this game.
The Huskies hit Luke Altmaier a few. He made good plays too. Like, Luke Altmaier he made some very bad throws as well, and I was very unimpressed with Luke Altmaier on the whole. But like, there were some throws that he made while being hit that I was like, damn, I can't believe he got that off. It kind of reminded me of Julian Sain a little bit.
Defensively,
just like 8 years older.
Yes. Defensively, a couple of things notable on the personnel side. Rashawn Clark got the start at nickel, played a terrific game, came up with an interception, and we saw a lot of Zadrius Rainey-Sale, the freshman linebacker, who was the state's top recruit, and is just working back from an ACL tear that had sidelined him. So that was really exciting to see, especially with no Jacob Manu in this one, as he continues to manage the 4 games he's able to play in redshirt this season. So Huskies up to number 28 in the AP poll, number 29 in coaches. There were a lot of people that were saying if they won this game, they would replace Illinois in the rankings. I did not buy that. They did not.
It still doesn't really make any sense, though. Like, how you look at this team. The
I
Huskies
get
just need
it
to
from
win
this.
games, but like
That is generally the key. I would note that Michigan, who they lost pretty comfortably to, is still not that far above unranked. They're number 21 in both polls. So it makes sense from that standpoint to me.
I mean, I think Michigan's underrated also. Like just because UW is underrated, like if you look at it FPI wise, Michigan's number 15. That's not a bad team. And UW is 23, which is probably where they should be ranked.
Well, also rankings are bad, actually.
If you look at it resume wise, UW is number 20. If you look at it efficiency wise, UW's number 24. They are in the top 25 by basically every single statistical measurement. So
Well, where are they in terms of strength of record? Because that's the thing that actually most closely replicates.
they're number 20. That's what I said.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, yeah. And Michigan's 16.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, the Big Ten is chronically underranked this year, which is not a thing that should happen to the Big Ten. They're overranked for one team, though. Am I right? Number
Ohio
10 in
State,
terms
you
of
don't think
strength.
they should be number one?
No, I mean Indiana should be number one.
I also agree with that. Yes,
Strength of record though, Texas A&M is number one, and then Indiana, and then
I
Ohio
see.
State.
Yeah. The other thing we need to talk about from this game,
That wasn't who I was talking about though.
I know. The other thing we need to talk about for this game is Nostra Luca, our buddies who we've sat next to since we moved into the new stadium, asked Luke, your
Youngin.
old son Luca, before the first three possessions, who he thought was going to score next for the Huskies. I mean, first one predicts Desmond Roebuck, who scores his first career touchdown. Second one,
That was his first touchdown?
Yeah.
Wow.
thinks about it a little bit. Again picks Desmond Roebuck, who scores his second career
Bang!
touchdown, improbably. Third one picked Denzel Boston, who did not score a touchdown, but did throw a touchdown.
Yeah, no, that was prognosticating at its finest.
It was truly young Nostra Tristan.
That was impressive. I wanted to be like, I could feel that Jonah was going to run in the next one too.
It was interesting also that Jonah caught the play because it felt like it was going to be a Philly special and it was going to be Damon Williams.
No, they drew it up.
Through it.
Jed drew it up, and I think a lot of the shit Jed draws up doesn't work at all.
It is actually not true, by the way. Desmond Roebuck did have 2 touchdowns. Never mind me.
I was gonna say I thought he'd scored. I remember him scoring, but Jed drew it up. Right, they draw it up as if it's going to be a Philly special. Have you watched this again? Damon is calling for the ball.
Oh, is he?
Right?
I didn't see that.
And so it pulls the defenders because the defenders. So often you see it go back to the court. You never see that ball go to the running back there, right?
Yeah.
And so Damon is like right here, which pulls the defender and gives Jonah even more space for it. That was one where I was like, damn, Jed finally got one. His trick plays don't work very well usually, but that one was beautifully done. And no red zone issues, right? Like they punch it. Illinois is not a good defense, but like they punch it in every single time. I thought the defense played well against a good Illinois offense. And honestly, like across the board, I think we have to come out of that one feeling very, very good. So heading into the bye, they may get into the top 25 even without doing anything after this week. We'll see.
That's what happened with Illinois, where they were unranked heading into their bye and then number 23 going into last week. All right. Coming out of their bye, Seattle Seahawks 5-2, tied now with only the LA Rams atop the NFC West because the San Francisco 49ers, the lone NFC West team to play last weekend, lost.
Mm-hmm.
Heading into a Sunday night matchup against the Washington Commanders, Seahawks now 88% to make the playoffs per DVOA's projections. Some bad news on the health front. We were expecting to get both Julian Love and Devin Witherspoon back in the lineup from injuries this week. Instead, in the secondary, Mike McDonald told reporters on Wednesday that Julian Love had a setback in hamstring rehab, did not practice, putting his status for Saturday, quote, in jeopardy with an IR stint a possibility. So not exciting news there. The interesting question to me coming out of that is, do you think there's any chance they move Nick Emanwari to safety?
Probably not. I don't see why they'd change anything up from what they've been doing right now.
Well,
You're
because
saying
they
with
have
Spoon
too many
coming back.
guys.
I don't think with the way that Nicky Manowari is playing, you don't want to change what he's doing right now.
That's fair. And Ty Okada has certainly been doing a good job at safety in Love's absence alongside Kobe Bryant. But the idea of having Eman Mori out there with Spoon, with Rick Woolen, with Josh Jobe, all four of those guys, I am intrigued.
I mean,
So
they could also play Spoon in more of like a linebacker role also.
play a dime
Yeah.
with those four guys out there, plausibly. The NFL trade deadline is on Tuesday. We'll see if the Seahawks are active at all. It feels like coming off of that strong performance against the Texans that a Rick Woolen trade is considerably less likely, despite that
It's not
depth we
getting.
talked
Why would
about.
you change anything at this point? If you're the Seahawks, outside of adding pieces, they are not going to be subtracting anything.
It seems a lot less likely.
It is I guarantee you that is an extraordinarily confident Seahawks team right now, and I don't think they're looking at it.
That's true.
As
But I think you, if you dealt Rick Woolen, you would still be dealing from him from a place of confidence that we don't need him.
it's just not happening. There's not a that doesn't even pass the any chance rule.
So many old friends for the Commanders. Obviously, head coach Dan Quinn, Bobby Wagner playing against the Seahawks for the first time since his most recent stint. Played against them twice in whatever season that was with the Los Angeles Rams. I think that was 2022. Ken Norton Jr. is on the defensive staff for Dan Quinn, and Jacob Martin, I had kind of forgotten, was in Washington, still lamenting his inclusion in the Jadeveon Clowney trade. The Commanders matched last season's 5 losses on Monday night when they lost to Kansas City. Still 11th in DVOA, thanks in large part to their second-ranked special teams. A big factor in their uneven start. Jaden Daniels missed weeks 3 and 4 with a knee sprain. They then beat Las Vegas with Marcus Mariota going 17 of 21 for 207 yards and 40 yards rushing. You still
That was
believe?
before Tyler Lockett was there, though.
Wait, we lost 34-27 to Atlanta with Mariota. Daniels returned to lead a 27-10 win over the LA Chargers with a season high 8.9 yards per pass attempt, but the Commanders lost 25-24 at home to Chicago on a walk-off field goal, and then left their 44-22 loss at Dallas with a hamstring strain and missed the 28-7 loss at Arrowhead Stadium on Monday.
But is expected to play this week, right?
Yes. We're definitely planning as if it's going to be him, but just hasn't been nearly as good as his rookie season when he's been healthy. His completion percentage down from 69% to 61%, yards per rush down from 6.0 to 4.8. He ranked 8th in the EPA plus CPOE composite as a rookie. He's 21st this year, and feels like kind of a theme lately, going back to CJ Stroud, of these guys, these quarterbacks having monster first seasons and struggling to repeat them.
Well, I think the records also change, or the schedules also changed during that time period.
Without
By
question.
having a good season when you're coming in as a quarterback of a team that is picking near the top of the draft, you're probably going to end up having a much harder record the next year. And there's just going to be some natural regression that happens. I'm not concerned about Jaden Daniels long term, but does Jaden Daniels scare me in the same way that he might have a year ago, especially against the Seahawks defense? I don't. He's better than Mariota, but I'm not quivering about Jaden Daniels at this point. Ranks 13th in PFF. I think it's a down year. The completion percentage in particular, you look at and you're like, this is radically different than a year ago.
Yeah, it is. And I don't think his advanced stats have been dramatically different from Mariota, although the leaderboard is not pulling up for me at the moment.
It's broken, I think. You're talking on EPA plus CPOE.
It was working earlier this evening when I did these notes. Part of what's happened, I think, is that he's not had Terry McLaurin much of this season. He's missed 4 games already with a quadriceps strain, ruled out for this one after aggravated on Monday night. Deebo Samuel has been the leading target for the Commanders in his first year after being traded for the Niners, but averaging just 46.6 yards per game and 8.8 yards per reception. He averaged 13.1 last year, 18.2 when he was a Pro Bowler in 2021, when it felt like every time he touched the ball, it was a big play waiting to happen, and never fewer than 11.3 with the Niners. So he has very much not been the same player. Obviously a lot of factors go into that, but it does not feel to me like that trade has worked out for Washington.
We knew it wasn't going to at the time.
I think people were pretty hyped about it.
Yeah, people were wrong.
People don't remember that time passes. Speaking of time passes, Zach Ertz, way too involved at age 35. He has 27 catches, more than double anybody but Devo. Those are obviously not going for a lot of yards per reception. So there just hasn't been the big plays on offense for the Commanders. Rookie Ja'Cory Bill Krosky Merritt has been quite good as a seventh round pick. He leads the NFL per Pro Football References metrics in success rate at 60% and is averaging 4.9 yards per carry. But he's gone backwards the last couple of weeks. Well, not he's still gone forward, but not as much. Just 58 yards on 22 carries in that span. And the Commanders don't really have anyone else on the ground but him.
Oh, Jeremy McNichols erasure.
He had like one carry.
And Chris Rodriguez, I will say, Rodriguez
they're just
has
not
gotten in
even
the mix too.
But they're not getting in the mix. They have not gotten almost any carries lately. Jeremy McNichols he has 16 carries all season. Chris Rodriguez had more.
There was one game that Chris Rodriguez had a ton of carries, and I was annoyed about it in fantasy.
Yes, he had 11 carries for 39 yards against Las Vegas early on. He had one carry for 2 yards last week.
I mean, I think the run game in general just hasn't been that strong. Even when you talk about Bill,
But it was for a period of time there.
Well, that period of time was when they had Jaden Daniels.
I've got some bad news for you about this week.
I think this is a scarier game than, say, when they were playing the Chiefs last Monday night.
Yeah.
I think this is actually a little bit of a sneaky game for the Seahawks coming off a bye and Washington kind of needing the game also. This is one that I feel slightly less confident in than I have some of the recent Seahawks weeks, where I looked at them. I mean, honestly, like looking back on that Texans game, it's a pretty solid win.
Based on what they did to the 49ers, yeah.
Where are they at DVOA wise?
Well, the Commanders' defense ranks somewhat better by DVOA, where they're about average than EPA per play, which that seems to reflect their schedule. There's not as big a gap on offense. But here's the thing I'm looking at. They're 12.8 yards per completion allowed to opponents, nearly 1 yard per completion more than any other team. And it's as big as the difference between second place and ninth. A lot of those are happening on early downs. They're actually 12th in EPA per drop back on third and fourth down. But if you look at early downs, they're in the bottom 3 in the league. And you know who happens to be very good at early down passing and gets a lot of explosive plays?
There we go.
Situations.
As long as they're doing
it.
As long as they're doing it, they're calling it right. But I will say, I am confident enough in Clint Kubiak that they are aware of this information.
I think so too. They have the eighth highest sack rate in the league, but still just 30th in net yards per attempt allowed. Von Miller has 4 sacks and Jacob Martin, the aforementioned 3.5. But Dorrance Armstrong Jr., who is probably the best player, I did not know who they were until he came up on their stat sheet, leads the team with 5.5 sacks. Defensive tackle Deron Payne has just 1 sack, but really excels in both pass rush and run stop win rates from ESPN Analytics. So...
yeah, it really still doesn't shape up very well. I get when you're this as good as the Seahawks are, it's kind of hard to find a mismatch. You look at that Cowboys game from a couple weeks ago. It was on the road, obviously, but just how good Dak was in it, how good Javonte Williams was in it, that they spread the ball around to CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens. I don't think the Cowboys offense is that much better than the Seahawks offense. And can the Seahawks score 28, 35 points in this game? They probably can. And this defense just is not going to give up that many points.
Yep.
I still think it's a hair sneaky though.
Seahawks 3.5 point favorites on the road in this one.
That felt about right with Jaden Daniels
so
playing. It's one of those games where it's like, I'm not sure if there's any statistical reason why this game should be close or even why that spread should be as close as it is. I mean, you said that, I guess DVOA wise, when you looked at it, with the Seahawks 2nd and Washington's 11th, that's not a huge discrepancy necessarily. But also when you look at it as the DVOA itself, not just the places, like Seahawks 41.7, Washington 4.6. And they're not a particularly strong 11th best team in the league. So just like number wise and ranking wise, they're a little bit closer. It is a top heavy NFL right now.
But part of that reflects that, the Seahawks, if you're projecting forward, still they've exceeded expectations so much, you expect a significant rush into the means. They're 5th in Dave, which is their predictive version of DVOA, and at 21% to 4% for Washington. Like, it's still a comfortable edge, but not as dramatic.
Yeah, I saw there's the ESPN. How do they do this matchup predictor?
Based on BPI, or FPI, I should say.
I mean, to see the Commanders with a 57% chance of winning, I'm just like, it's not a chance.
I mean, yes, that does not come close to reflecting the market's position.
I'm shocked to see any spread that looks like that. So, but again, it's one of those things where it's almost like the intangible pieces make me a little bit more nervous about it. It's a Sunday night, it's a game Washington needs to win. Jane Daniels kind of has to have this game coming back. They've looked bad a few weeks in a row, but they're not. Washington underlying is a better team than this, probably. When you look at their DVOA, the pedigree of where they came from a year ago, they're probably a better team than they have been playing these last couple of weeks. So that's why it feels just a hair scary to me. But the Seahawks are a better team, probably offensively and defensively, maybe not special teams.
Wait,
And
Houston is 7th in DVOA?
that's what I'm saying. Houston was a sneaky good win for the Seahawks. First off, they're 7th because there are no good teams in the NFL.
I don't know if I think there are 5 good teams in the NFL. The good news is the Seahawks happen to be one of them.
Name the 5 good teams. Name the 5 good teams.
Well, by DVOA, I'm saying
You don't think the Packers are?
The Colts, the Lions, the Rams, the Chiefs, and the Seahawks.
And you don't think the Bills are a good team? I'm going to give that a maybe.
Well, you're the one that said there are no good teams, and that's why Houston's 7th. They're ahead of the Bills.
No, the good teams are the Colts, the Seahawks, the Lions, the Chiefs, the Bills.
You're not willing to put the Rams in there?
No, I'll give the Rams. That's
you have the Buccaneers in there at 14th in DVOA.
Did I say the Buccaneers are good?
No, but just based on your previous Baker Mayfield comments.
I said that the wrong person came out of that game as an MVP candidate.
That's fair.
He played a really good game against the Seahawks, but it was against that wasn't the Seahawks secondary that is coming out there today. Wait, who am I at? Did I count the Packers? I actually think the Eagles. There are some teams where I'm like, the Eagles, they're okay. The Niners was the
Broncos.
one,
you catch them on the right day.
Yeah, no, the Broncos are okay, but there are just a lot of bad teams right now. I'm surprised the Chargers are so bad.
I watched them play against Indianapolis last week. I am not surprised by it.
I don't know. There's just, again, right now in this moment in week 8, is that what it is? Week 8 of the NFL season. I think there can be made an argument that the Seahawks should be the favorite in the NFC. And if they're not, the only reason that they wouldn't be is because of the competition, because that one of the other good teams in the league is also in their division.
Right.
So, and it's going to kind of come down to who wins that. The Niners were exactly where they should have been, and that loss to the Texans, well, not a bad loss, was just the Niners are just not a good team. And that I do not think the Niners are making the playoffs. I do not feel good about the Niners at all in general.
I mean, they still have a 64% chance of making the playoffs in DVOA playoff odds.
I mean, that's basically because it's who else is going to make it? And then the answer is, I don't know. But somebody has to, but somebody is going to emerge as the season progresses, and that team is not going to be the San Francisco 49ers.
I am less convinced of that than you are, but I don't think they're that good of a team. They're not as good as the Rams and Seahawks right now. They do not belong in the class.
I saw a thing. There was I was listening to a podcast, and they were like, did Brent Venables break John Mateer by rushing him back too early? And I'm like, well, he sucked for the last 2 years. So they were like, his passes aren't accurate at all. And I'm like, am I the only person who watched this quarterback play football? Everybody, sometimes this happens. I mean, first off, I call it the Geno Smithification of players, where nothing happens, but there's so much time in the football offseason that all of a sudden you start thinking Geno Smith is good. And that's what happened with John Mateer, where a long time passes in the football offseason, and all of a sudden you're like, is this the best quarterback in college football? And I'm like, well, he can't throw, so that seems like an important piece of quarterbacking. And they're like, Brent Venables didn't break John Mateer. John Mateer fucking sucks.
John Mateer does not fucking suck.
QBR thinks so.
No, it does not think he fucking sucks. It does not think he is a Heisman candidate. It thinks that the hype around him is not statistically justified. I also think if your question is, wow, did people not watch player who was playing at Washington State
Yeah,
University
but
in
okay,
2000, the year of our Lord 2024? The answer is yes.
But then why did they determine he was so good?
Because they looked at his rushing stats and his passing yardage. I don't know what to tell you, man. They looked at the box score stats.
He
It's
was
actually the
34th
opposite.
in QBR last year. He
No
wasn't
one
good
is looking
last
at
year.
QBR.
What are they looking at? Just rushing stats? That's it?
They are looking at box score stats. I don't know what to tell you, man. Most people are looking at advanced stats.
It's not that hard to find.
No one said it was hard to find. People are not looking at it.
I don't know why I'm so mad about this.
It is actually a little hard to find on the website now. They used to have it as a tab. He threw for 3,000 yards and ran for 826. That's it. End of analysis.
And list, okay, fair enough. Number one player in the portal. Cool. I don't know why this bothers me so much. It's just like one of those situations where I'm like, I'm the only person who notices. And that's how I feel about the San Francisco 49ers. I feel like I'm the only person who notices that the 49ers are bad, except last week against the Texans.
I will write off the 49ers at your own peril.
Cam Ward kind of doesn't make sense.
Percentage chances of victory? Yeah, that's the other part of it. They said, well, the last Washington State transfer won the Heisman, so of course he's going to do it too.
Yeah, it happens 100% of the time.
Legitimately, it was the reason. Also, that might have been a reason that Cedric Coward was drafted as high as he was, because the Jalen Wells came out of Washington State and was really good for the Grizzlies. But fun fact, it turns out Cedric Coward is even better.
Hello.
He's like the anti-Mateer.
There we go.
Cedric Coward is so good.
That was a beautiful call an ambulance, but not for me situation about somebody named Cedric Coward.
Retroactively unhappy that I did not put him on the players to watch.
Well, it's an honorable mention right now.
Yeah.
There's no rules.
But it's good. I found out Denny Avdia was on the list, so that's important.
Ooh, yes, he was.
You presumably never watched him until he got traded to the Blazers.
Oh, I've loved Denny Avdia. I remember the night he was drafted. That's it. I didn't watch him play for the Wizards, but I remember him being drafted.
All right, percentage chances of victory, Seahawks Commanders. Obviously follows our discussion about Cedric Coward.
I think there's... this is my number one take, is how annoyed I am about John Mateer being the number one player in the transfer portal. It just really bothers me for some reason. I'm telling you, it is the Geno Smith thing, the Geno Smithification of quarterbacks. It's like, where are the people now? I'm waiting for them. I've got my horn up, listening, ready for those people. We watched Pete Carroll. We watched Geno Smith. We know. I'm going to say...
And yet, I bet you, I know I did, pick the over for the Raiders.
I don't think I did pick the over.
I did.
I don't pull that up. I think my over-unders might be real bad this year.
Mm-hmm. I'm confident mine are.
Just bang that Ravens over. I'm going to say 62%.
I'm going to go 57%, which is...
Really?
That's what I had in mind even before you said it. And it perfectly fits the
That's
Peltoncast
beautiful.
5%
That is
rule.
a beautiful thing.
Wow. What a great...
I thought I was being way down on the Seahawks by saying 62%.
What a great note to go out on. I'm Kevin
Sunday
Pelton.
night. Thanks for listening.
Oh, no, you can deliver your Sunday night message if you'd like.
Sunday night, it's a great time for a game. A little strange Sunday night game, though. I mean, the Commanders playing Monday Night Football into Sunday Night Football, kind of a fascinating one. Under the lights for the Seahawks. This is going to be, if the Seahawks play the type of game that they can play. Obviously, they won the Monday Night Football game before the bye. If the Seahawks win this one, I think Sunday Night Football can anoint you in a way that the Monday Night Football can't.
Yeah, especially Monday Night Football when it's opposite Game 7 of the ALCS.
And happening at 1 a.m. Eastern. You know, like the two later than 1 a.m. Eastern. Sunday Night Football, if the Seahawks come out and dominate this game, this is going to be an anointing of the Seahawks as this is the team in the NFC. And there'll be a conversation, Mike Tirico, Chris Collinsworth conversation, being like, this is the team to beat. And it'll be like Chris Collinsworth will say something like, Mike, I've been saying no, I can't do the Chris Collinsworth. I have to work. I have to practice first to do the Chris Collinsworth. But there will be a surprise and a bold prediction that the Seahawks are the best team in the NFC if they are able to win this game. Chris Collinsworth will like be going out on a whim by saying that when DVOA has been saying that for weeks. Thank you. But I think on a national level, if the Seahawks can dominate this game, it's going to be the Seahawks night.
On that note,
thanks for listening.
Thanks.
Should we talk about childhood? December 23rd, 2001. The day the Peltoncast started. You could trace the exact... it's not actually the Peltoncast, but Jan came over, had a thumb drive of old Pelton family videos. Are you aware of this? Have you watched these?
No, this is the first I've heard of it.
Scott apparently gave you one, which you're not aware of.
Oh, maybe I am aware of this then. Maybe
Have you watched them?
I remember watching something, but I didn't know that the origin of the Peltoncast was there. So maybe we watched something different.
No, it's not actually the origin of the Peltoncast, but December 23rd, 2001.
Festivus, obviously.
Yeah, Festivus 2001. We knew what it was at the time. Yeah, we knew it was Festivus at the time.
Of course. We were, I would say we were pretty close to peak Festivus at that point.
A sullen teenage Tristan.
Okay.
And a still nerdy and somehow still teenage ESPN senior writer Kevin Pelton.
I mean, I was in fact teenage at that point.
Somehow you once were a teenager. Words matter. Receive Christmas gifts from the Pelton family. I get in that Christmas.
I do know. I do remember this now.
The CD that I talked about a couple of weeks ago on this very podcast, self-titled Sublime by Sublime and Ritual Lo Habitual by Jane's Addiction, which I'm saying in front of, as a 16-year-old in front of our family, no idea what the fuck I'm talking about. And then you got the Bill James, what is the book called?
Historical Baseball Abstract, the revised version.
Basically like the genesis of the two things. This was fucking 24 years ago, right? And it's like the exact genesis of the two things that we do distilled down into that very moment where we had figured out that this is what was going to be our life. Kind of crazy to see on film.
I watched it. I did not have the same visceral reaction to it. I guess
it's crazy to see the moment you got. I know that your like stats timeline extends further back than that, but like that has to be like a touchstone point in your history for like statistical analysis in sports. You got
the definitely book. A key point. Yes.
Was that your first Bill James book?
It was, yeah. I mean, I have never owned any of the actual the abstracts that he did on a yearly basis. I did at one point in a thrift shop buy the original version of the historical abstract. So I now have that as well.
But it was after, right?
Yeah, long. This is like within the last 6 months I did that. So yeah, no, I mean I had read a Bill James book prior to this, but that was the first one that I owned.
Isn't that kind of crazy to see that moment? And the Pelton family Christmases were the way that we would do it is like you're never surprised by the gifts. You just told people exactly what you want.
Unless you forgot to give a list. And
then it was like Swiss Army knife.
Yeah, it's precisely what I got.
The Swiss Army knife that we will never forget that you got. Probably the craziest gift to ever give ESPN senior writer Kevin Pelton.
not a Bill James book.
The exact opposite. If there's anything that is the complete opposite of a Bill James historical,
I could probably think of some things that are more opposite, but but not that you would give someone as a teenager as a Christmas gift.
But it was basically like you had figured out what you wanted to like be in that moment. You're like, this is what I want to define myself by that I don't have the means to purchase as a 16-year-old.
I did have the means to purchase.
Oh yeah, you already had that good library money. Anyway, I thought that was crazy to see that moment on film, and I am such not. I honestly was like, I just did not want to be filmed at all. Like not like sullen teen necessarily, but I was not interested in being filmed at the Pelton family gathering.
Well, still not interested in being filmed while recording the Peltoncast.
Yeah, that's true.
The other part of it that does ring familiar to the Pelton cast is me noting how high my voice is in the video.
No, your voice, it's like your voice is like totally different. Okay, I also watched Year 2000, which we do the same thing because we're just going around saying what gifts we got. I don't even remember what you got in Year 2000. I might have only watched myself. But in that one, I was like, oh, so David also, I was like, oh my God, I think he got a Creed CD when we were watching it. And I was like, look, we all went in three directions. If David actually, but he actually got the Essential Journey, was what he got.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it was not quite Creed. I honestly wish it was Creed just for like the historical like artifact of it. You
the
know?
time capsule.
Yeah, but Year 2000.
I don't remember David having a Creed phase.
Oh, he definitely had a Creed phase.
I suppose.
Maybe Creed was too heavy for him.
I don't know if I would say that.
But in the year 2000, I got the self-titled. I was like, I got a granola box. I was jokey in the year 2000. By 2001, wow. I was not joking. I talked for a long time when I was talking about the gifts, and I was like, oh, I guess it's up to me, you know? It wasn't a bad routine, but like, I was like, it was in a granola box, and I was like, I was expecting granola bars, but I got this, you know, like you do when you're fucking 15, and I hate it. But like,
or when you're 40,
self-titled Weezer, the Blue Album, Weezer by Weezer.
Love it.
And I said, I got an album by a band called Weezer, and I was explaining to Jan, Weezer would not have been a household name in Christmas year 2000.
Huh. I mean,
don't try to debate me on this because you're gonna lose.
It's funny because it's not like, did Weezer become more famous after the year 2000?
Are you joking? Did Weezer become more famous after
I don't know.
2000?
Maybe I just don't understand
May
the timeline 15th,
here. 2001, the Green Album came out.
Okay, this was I guess I don't understand the Weezer timeline as well as I think I do.
The Green Album is when Weezer became like a household name band, right? That is like Will Ferrell on SNL playing the maracas to Island in the Sun. But they weren't like underground, but they weren't like right. Your mom knows who they are. And maybe because Buddy Holly was 1994.
Right.
Buddy Holly was 1994. Pinkerton was 1996, and there were no successful songs from Pinkerton like nationally. And so by the year 2000, I feel like Weezer was like a historical like afterthought. You know, they were like, I was trying to think about them as like a modern, like what is the modern version of Weezer, where Weezer was in the year 2000.
Is there an answer to that question?
The best that I came up with was, do you know a group called The Neighborhood?
I think so. Do I know The Neighborhood? Let me look.
This is still like an extraordinarily popular.
I think they're weather. Yeah,
exactly. Course. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
I know Sweater Weather, but like, did the name when I said The Neighborhood, you weren't like, of course I know that band.
I was like, maybe you're talking about the Italian joint that is on California, not far from me.
I think The Neighborhood is maybe like a little bit more popular than Weezer was in the year 2000, but I don't know. Like Buddy Holly was a huge fucking song. So,
and the Sweater song. Saying it so, these are all pretty big.
Weezer was a very large band, 1994, 1990, and it continued. But like by the time we got to the year 2000, it was like, it wasn't indie, but you could be perceived as cool by listening to Weezer.
That's fair.
And by 2002, that was not the case.
Right.
And so I was explaining that to Jan, and I was like, I bet most of the people in that room did not know who Weezer was. They might be familiar with Buddy Holly, some of them, but it wasn't like I could be like, I have the Blue Album by Weezer. Also, Christmas 1995.
Where am I at this one or
not there? You're gone.
I have the flu.
Conspicuously gone. I'm there wearing my just received Sean Kemp Sonics jersey.
Of course.
And you got the Gary Payton one, right? Or was it the other way around?
It is the other way around. You had the Gary Payton, I had the Sean Kemp.
Okay.
You're also sporting a Ryder Strong-esque haircut. Is that fair to say?
No, I have a hat on. I'm not.
Oh, okay.
I have the teal Mariners hat on.
Oh, probably also just received.
That's probably true. Yeah, I strapped those on as a 10-year-old, and I got some like baseball card packs. I remember being like Collector's Choice and Donruss cards, and then some sort of Randy Johnson bat, and the 1995 My Oh My Mariners video
Love it.
from a just eliminated from the playoffs Mariners.
Well,
But it was
what I remember, so while I was sitting at home, not at the family Christmas gatherings, because you had given me your illness.
I like that you
Back
played it. We're still mad about it 30 years later.
because we were sharing bunk beds still at that point. It was before I had moved downstairs to my own room. And I'm sitting on the couch, and there's a replay of Game 5 on Prime Sports Northwest on Christmas Day,
You watched
1995.
that on
So
Christmas Day?
this is like the NBA wasn't even big enough that at that point it was like all day Christmas Day. It was, I'm gonna
I feel
watch
like
this game
NBA
over
wasn't
again.
like a Christmas thing at all at the
The
time.
the Sonics did play on Christmas Day in 1994 against
Really?
the Nuggets. Yes, I have a
Interesting.
distinct memory of watching it at our grandparents' neighbor's house.
I was breaking this down for Mateo when the Mariners lost, which first off, a couple of thoughts tie back to this. The Mariners losing that game 7 to the Blue Jays retroactively still makes game 5, 1995, the most important game in Mariners franchise history.
I mean, I said last week on this podcast that either way it was the most important game because of the franchise's future being at stake, but sure.
I don't know if you said that on the podcast, but
I'm pretty sure I did.
Your argument is that they could win a World Series and it wouldn't be as important as 95, and I don't agree with that.
There were two games on Christmas Day, 1995. Houston and Orlando, a rematch of the NBA Finals. Orlando getting some measure of revenge in a 92-90 victory, and San Antonio beat Phoenix 105-100.
So Mateo was crying 8th inning, 9th inning about the Mariners, and I was like, motherfucker, Michael Jordan retired from the league, and we had the number 1 seed. And we had to sit and watch Dikembe Mutombo holding the ball over his head on the ground. I know pain. What you are witnessing here is not pain, my dog. The Mariners lost in a series where they weren't even the favorites. They lost a game 7 on the road to George Springer against apparently the eventual champion Blue Jays. But I was like, I know pain, motherfucker. I saw that shit when I was your age, and nothing can scar me anymore.
Okay.
Don't you? Am I not right? Literally, Michael Jordan retired from the league. It was like, it would be like if Shohei was like, I'm good. And then the Mariners still fumbled the bag.
I mean, I can think of a few differences between those two scenarios, but yes,
yeah, it would be like if 10 Shoheis retired from the league.
The scenario would have to be the Mariners losing in a way that no team in MLB history has lost before.
Exactly. It's so much worse in every way because the magnitude of Michael Jordan is so much higher than Shohei.
But it's not about the Jordan part of it. It's about
it is about the Jordan part
in the first round.
Unstoppable.
Even if Jordan had been there, like
yes,
losing in the first round is the number 1 seed would have still been a traumatic thing.
It would have been slightly less scarring if it would have been like, we're just going to go get our ass kicked by the Bulls, though.
But it's not like in 96 we were like, oh, well, yay, we won the Western Conference Finals, but now we're going to for sure lose to the Bulls. We thought we were winning that shit, and they would have had Nate McMillan been healthy.
Yes, Nate McMillan been healthy. GP defending Michael Jordan.
Well, GP might have defended Michael Jordan if Nate McMillan had been healthy.
I love that you're the only person on earth who believes this, and I love how staunchly you believe it.
I'm not. Nate McMillan believes it. George Karl believes it.
There are 3 of us.
I bet GP believes they would have won the series if he would have been guarding Jordan from the start.
Oh, yes.
I think he probably is that. He's gone that direction. Also, George Karl does over-index on if they hadn't had to stop to refuel in Montana on the way home from Chicago.
Yeah, that's like a little too crazy. He got a little too far with that one, the refueling. Anyway, it was pretty fun watching those. The other thought that I had was the 2000 and 2001 ones. Like, you know how like you have a memory and you could kind of like put yourself back in that memory? Like you have a memory of a memory. And that's literally what memories are, right? It's like you're remembering the memory over and over and over and over again to like slightly varying degrees. I do not recall Like I can't picture myself in the 2000 and 2001 Christmases. But the 1994 Christmas, I like remember sitting there and looking up on our couch and seeing Suzanne and Ross. Like I like remember that moment more than I remember the moments that happened 5 or 6 years later, even though I was older. It's like kind of strange to me looking at it because it's like,
Well,
sometimes you're like, that's myself, but
well,
like sometimes you're like, that's a different person.
it was actually on Christmas, the Pelton family get together in 95, whereas by 2000, 2001, it had moved, as you noted at the start, adjacent to Christmas.
Yes.
And then B, I do think Christmas is just a bigger deal to you when you're 13 than it is when you're,
No, I was
or 10,
10.
than when you're 15 and 16.
Do you think it might also be because I remember the morning that I got The Rising, which would have been 2002?
Yes.
I remember that morning distinctly waking up, and I remember other moments from Christmas. It could be that I just didn't care about that event, and so I didn't bother. I didn't realize how important of an event it would be for us 25 years
Formative.
later. Yeah, right. I literally didn't. I mean, I knew I was excited about getting that CD. I also could not have imagined that I would be listening to 25 years later the Sublime CD more than the Jane's Addiction CD, and more than the Weezer one too.
Yeah.
The children are like, "Do you still have this?" And I'm like, "Motherfucker, look right there." I'm like, "You can see all the CDs. I don't have any CDs I've gotten rid of, but like I was like, I probably listened to the Blue album up there with the most of any CD that I've ever listened to."
I've read the historical baseball abstract a lot.
Yeah. Uh, yeah, I was like, "Motherfucker, call me Jonas." You understood that as well as they did.
Oh, I was just pausing for, I thought that was the end of the podcast.
For dramatic. Anyway, it was a fun watch. But that was the genesis of the podcast. All right. Thanks for listening.
Thanks.
That was good content, right?
Yes.